Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's program of Elder Law's Lifetime Planning. This program is co-sponsored by ElderCounsel and the Elder Law section of the New York State Bar Association, and will run from 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. The course materials are available in the Learning Dashboard, and instructions on how to access the Learning Dashboard are available in the greetings email you received earlier today. And now I will turn it over to our speaker for today, Jim Wolverton. Jim, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for being here. My name is Jim Wolverton. I'm the Director of Education for ElderCounsel. ElderCounsel is a membership-based organization that supports estate planning, elder law, and special needs attorney with document assembly, software, education, obviously that's where I come in, and then also marketing for your elder law and estate planning practice. So just a little bit of background of where I'm coming from, and my role in ElderCounsel is to put together educational programs. But in previous roles with ElderCounsel, I have worked in this on the sales side of things, and then also as an account manager in onboarding attorneys into elder law. And that's really where this program comes from. What I want to cover today, and I'll get into the agenda here momentarily, are issues that I have been asked about throughout the 9 years that I've worked here at ElderCounsel and working with attorneys as they're learning about elder law, what it is and how they can integrate it into their practice. When I started at ElderCounsel, I came out of private practice. I didn't really know that much about elder law, to be completely honest. And a lot of the things that I will discuss today are pieces of information, are concepts that I had a hard time kind of wrapping my head around initially. So hopefully this webinar will be helpful for you all if you're thinking about adding elder law to your practice, if you're already doing some elder law, or if you're just getting into estate planning, maybe how to help those clients deal with the bigger picture rather than just really focusing on where does their stuff go when they pass away. So what we'll cover here today is the elder law FAQ. Those are frequently asked questions that I've run into, again, over the time that I've worked here at ElderCounsel, helping attorneys onboard elder law into their practices. One thing that has been really, really helpful when an attorney is thinking about that already has an established law practice is being able to identify complementary services and plan accordingly to add in elder law into their already established practice. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The profitability of an elder law practice. When I first started with ElderCounsel, elder law kind of had a bad reputation. It was like, well, yeah, I'd like to do elder law, but I don't think I can make any money doing that. I think that's changed quite a bit over the last few years as people have run into more attorneys that are doing it. As the practice area grows, they can see that, oh, okay, this is part of a private practice. It's not just more of a legal aid type service that's being provided to folks, lower income folks in the community. We'll talk about marketing concerns, and then I'll have a couple tips and tricks on how to get started. I do have a good number of slides for the half an hour that we have together, so I'm going to hold questions to the end, but please feel free to throw those in the question and answer box or the chat. I have both of those up over on my other screen. So as we get to the end of the program, we'll be able to take those and I'll be able to address any questions that do come in. All right, so let's hop into it. We have come up with the title of this program, and this is something that we really thought a lot about, of expanding what elder law is as far as a definition. Because if you go outside of a very small group of attorneys, most people don't really know what elder law means. And if you're especially trying to put together a marketing strategy, if you go out in the community and say, I do elder law, most people won't know what you're talking about. So what we wanted to do was kind of put together a definition that helped people understand exactly what you're talking about. So we focused on this lifetime planning, and we're still workshopping it. It's not perfect, but I think what it really brings out to the community is lifetime planning's focused not only on what happens when a client passes away, but also how we can optimize their care options while they're still alive. When I did any estate planning client that came in, I would come in and we talk about what happens when they pass away. But what we didn't have a conversation about was, what are your care options before you pass away? And we're going to talk about why those are so important and how are you going to pay for those? And that's one of those primary concerns, that if you're just doing pure estate planning and you're just putting together, a will, a power of attorney, something, or a revocable trust, you might not have that bigger conversation. And that's what I think elder law attorneys are really good at, is having that bigger conversation, help your clients plan for those care options before they pass away. So this is kind of just what I just said, is an estate plan is created during a snapshot in time, but really doesn't think about, okay, how are your needs going to evolve and their family's needs evolve over time. I know in our practice, we put together a plan, we'd either help them fund them or not fund it, and then we might not see them again. But we know that 10 years down the road, maybe they, their kids were just going to college. Now they're a little bit older. Those needs are changing a little bit more. Now they're thinking about their care needs. They're thinking about maybe some different issues than they were thinking about on that day they came into our office. We did a snapshot plan. We never really saw them again. What is going to happen is middle-class baby boomer clients, well, any baby boomer client, but specifically the middle class is going to get hit really hard with this, is they're coming into a very, very expensive time in their lives as they're getting older. I'm going to throw some stats at you. Most of these come from Genworth, which is an insurance company that provides long-term care insurance and has done a lot of research on the cost of long-term care. And I didn't know these. Again, this is all stuff that I didn't know about when I started ElderCounsel, that I thought was just really, really interesting and really opened my eyes to how important this type of planning is. Somebody turning 65 today has almost a 70% chance of needing some type of long-term care services before they pass away. So that 70% of the population above 65 is going to need some sort of long-term care. And women need care longer because they live longer, 3.7 years, than men, which is about 2.2 years. So we're thinking almost 4 years living and getting some sort of help before they pass away. And 1/3 of today's 65-year-olds may not ever need long-term care. That's that 30% up there, but 20% will need it for longer than 5 years. So we're talking about a long time needing some sort of care. And this holds true in my family. My dad's dad had passed away before I was born, so I knew 3 of my grandparents, and all 3 of them needed some sort of long-term care before they passed away. So this number, if you kind of internalize it and put it in your own family, this number holds true. And that really held true with my grandmother on my dad's side. She was in, and we'll talk about kind of what kind of where you start your care at home and where you end in memory care or nursing home. She went through every phase of those care needs over the course of at least 10 years and maybe even longer. So who's going to provide this care? A lot of times it's family members or a neighbor or a kid trying to take care of their mom, or a spouse trying to take care of them. So usually that's an unpaid caregiver. And that's 80%, of those caregivers that come in, they're just unpaid. It's a kid trying to take care of mom. It's a neighbor trying to help out. And then you can also bring in a nurse or home health care aide who comes into the home and provides that care in the home. There's also adult daycare services that are available, where you can bring somebody to a community where they're integrated in a group of people and they're in a safe space. Or there's that variety of long-term care facilities, and we'll talk kind of the levels of those as well. So where you can receive that care is at home. And usually who's providing that care is an unpaid caregiver. Usually that, again, we talked about that, a family or a friend, or you can pay a nurse or a home health care aide to come into the home and provide that care there. Obviously, most people want to be in their own homes, but there are opportunities to get out in the community, so people aren't just sitting home alone all the time, like adult daycare services. There are transportation services out there. I know in some communities that I've lived in, those little buses go by, and they do provide those services to get people out of their house. Home health care agencies can also provide those services in kind of a more private setting. But a lot of time that's going to be a hybrid, where maybe you have the kids taking care of mom or dad a couple days a week, but they have to go to work. And so then they're complementing that with adult daycare services, and they're figuring out what the plan is for that. And then we have those facility-based programs. This is when it just doesn't make we can't do it at home anymore. This is what happened to my grandma. My uncle was taking care of her. He had to go to work. She was having memory issues. She was leaving the stove on, the iron on, things like that. So and she had some healthcare issues. So we needed more around the clock care for her. So that's when she moved into assisted living, eventually nursing home, and then eventually memory care. So this is kind of that path that most people take, as they start at home. Family tries as hard as they can to couple those services together, and then somebody ends up in an assisted living and then progressing through nursing home and memory care. Unfortunately, an average middle-class family is not prepared for the cost of these services, and especially in a state like New York, where the costs are high, Genworth estimates that the average monthly cost of a private room in a nursing home in New York was $13,000 in 2021. Just to think about that, that's a month of rent at $13,000 a month. If you have a middle-class family, they haven't saved up for that. They can't privately pay for that. And those costs, they're not going down. Those costs are estimated to increase at about 3% per year. And I always try to internalize these and make these numbers make sense so that if I'm describing them to a client, that they can feel the same way. So I'm not confusing them with just throwing out a bunch of numbers. But if you take that and you times it by 12, that totals 158,000. So I looked up the tuition at Columbia, and that's about double the tuition in Columbia for a year. So if you were sending a set of twins to Columbia for 1 year, it would equal about $158,000. Families plan for college. What they don't plan for is the cost of this care before they pass away. And a lot of times they don't even want to talk about it. But I think if we can have that conversation with our clients in a way that's similar to how we talk about savings for other big expenditures in life, we can really make sure that our clients are preparing for this cost and it's not a crisis when that occurs. So what I do want to, so that's kind of the reason why that this type of planning is so important, and why if you're just doing basic estate planning, you may want to start thinking about how can I open up the conversation to talk about lifetime planning and not just what happens when they pass away. A lot of times when I'm talking to attorneys, again, elder law it's not a big practice area out there. It's not personal injury, it's not med mal, it's not anything like that. It's kind of a smaller practice area. So there are a lot of frequently asked questions that we get that I did want to cover that might be floating out there for you. So a lot of times we'll hear that elder law, isn't that just Medicaid planning for sick people? And the planning solution used in the practice area work for families prior to becoming elderly. And I talked to an old school elder law attorney and said, where did this name elder law even come from? And really what he said is people don't realize the problem that occurs until they're older, until they're elderly, until they're going into that nursing home after their family has been trying to take care of them. So really that's why it kind of came around, that elder law name really came from. But really those solutions are going to help you expand your client base and solve specific concerns. And the earlier that we can have these conversations with folks, the more options we're giving them, again, like we looked at earlier, where they're going to receive that care, how they want to receive that care, and how they're going to pay for it. So let's make sure that we're having those conversations if we're doing estate planning. And often it's a necessary addition to estate planning practices. And so most elder law attorneys do some sort of estate planning, be it really simple estate planning or more complex estate planning. But as their clients get older, their clients will start asking them, hey, I had a friend go through this. Is there anything we can do about it? You can say, hey, yeah, let's take care of that. Let's address that with some advanced planning that we might not have been thinking about before, because that wasn't really your priorities at the time. Obviously, with any new practice area, there are nuances and a learning curve, and there's resource available to help, and we'll talk a little bit about those. And really the time it takes to learn this practice area is directly related to the time you invest in learning it. We've had people that have dabbled in it and they know enough to be dangerous, I think is probably the best way to put it. But if you'd really dive into some of this learning and start taking on some cases and really get invested, especially with the elder law section of the bar, you'll find that there are tons of resources out there to help you. There are definitely not enough elder law attorneys out there to help the baby boomers that are coming through. And elder law attorneys, on the most part, are very willing and open to helping you solve your clients' problems. It's not a really cutthroat practice area. A lot of folks will ask about getting an LLM in elder law. There are some great programs out there to get an LLM in elder law or tax law to help to start practicing elder law. There are no requirements to receive any sort of specialized degree or training before you start helping families, but we do recommend, some specific training is recommended. So you don't just go out there, take on a Medicaid application and not know how to be able to help your clients through that process. But you definitely don't need to have that LLM or tax LLM to be able to start helping families. If that's something that you want to do to really hold yourself outside in the community to kind of be head and shoulders above other attorneys, shoot, go for it. That's great. I think there are great programs out there and you can really take some deep dives into some of these concepts. However, what we have found is, again, the public doesn't know what an LLM is. that doesn't really help them make their decision. What they're looking at is, how do I solve this problem? How do I take care of mom or dad and make sure that they're getting the care that they need, rather than looking for an LLM. And really getting out there. And I always recommend, get out there, see if you like the practice area. If you feel like you don't have enough information, definitely enroll in one of those LLM programs and take advantage of the great professors that teach those courses. Another question that I have is, if I'm adding on a practice area like elder law, do I need a large staff? Staff sizes do vary. We do have a lot of solo practitioners that are members of Elder Counsel, and that's really going to vary on your business model. And that's what I really focus on with folks. Okay, when you're bringing on elder law, what is the plan? How are we going to get clients in the door? How are we going to process those cases? And how are we going to get those out the door to make sure that your clients are well taken care of? But we do have a lot of sole practitioners and small firms that do make up the majority of elder law attorneys in the country. This is not big law where you have, really huge law firms that are doing elder law. Some common practice areas. So what the heck am I talking about when it comes to elder law? It's a really big umbrella, and it really is defined by the clients that you're helping. And they do tend to be, above 60, 65. But some of the common practice areas underneath that umbrella are that long-term care planning, kind of the issues that we looked at earlier. How are we dealing with the cost of long-term care? Underneath that subheading, we have Medicaid planning, and we have crisis planning. Crisis planning is the situation where you have usually an adult child comes in and says, hey, I just put my mom in a nursing home. I had no idea it was going to cost $13,000 a month in rent. What can I do? What can we do as a family? We didn't talk to an attorney beforehand. What can we do to save some money? And there are strategies that you can use to be able to qualify those folks to receive Medicaid benefits. Medicaid benefits help pay for the cost of long-term care, but there are qualification requirements to be able to make that happen. And so there's specific strategies that attorneys use to qualify folks for Medicaid to help pay for the cost of long-term care. However, what's even better would be able to talk to those families before there's a crisis. And we call that pre-crisis or proactive planning. And that's dealing with these issues right on the front end, before there's a crisis, hopefully at least 5 years before there's any reason to go into a nursing home. And again, we're having conversations with clients. Where do you want to receive this care? How are we going to pay for it? Let's couple that with some trust, a revocable, maybe an irrevocable trust, and some insurance products to make sure that if something does happen, like it does happen to 70% of folks in America before they pass away that need this care, we have a plan in place and we can follow that plan. It's a very calm situation. We have the plan in place, not a big deal. And that's in contrary to that crisis planning. And so if we can get more people talking about these issues with proactive planning, we have way fewer crises on our hands. VA pension planning is another form of long-term care planning. That's a benefit available to wartime veterans and their spouses that can help them get some care in their home. And that's really specific to veterans that have served during wartime, and their care level isn't quite up to nursing home level. They don't need that Medicaid level of care. What they need is help in their home. And that's a benefit that goes direct to the veterans so they can pay for their care in their home. And that's a great practice area. Special needs planning. I don't know how this fell under the elder law umbrella, but it did, and it's great. You can help families with loved ones that are disabled. And this really doesn't have anything to do with being older or rich or middle class or lower class. This is really helping folks get those disability benefits that are available to them to help their quality of life be enhanced. And so that special needs planning, that really cuts across the spectrum of any clients, and any client that you have and you're helping their family. I have a lot of attorneys that do business law, and they say, hey, my clients are always asking me, hey, what is the special needs planning? I have a special needs child. They're turning 18. What do I do? And they just want to be the attorney for the family. So this special needs planning can really cut across the board, and you can help your clients make sure that the person with disability in their family is well taken care of. A lot of attorneys will also do guardianships and conservatorships if they're doing elder law, because when people lose capacity and they haven't done that planning, if they don't have the proper documentation in place, at that point, they'll have to go to the court and petition the court to be able to do that planning on their behalf. And then, like I mentioned earlier, most elder law attorneys do some sort of estate planning within their practices as well. Under the litigation umbrella, so I would think of elder law as there's the planning side, then there's a litigation side. So unfortunately, elders are targeted for abuse. For some, it makes me sad, but that they are targeted for abuse, both physical and financial abuse. And so you can practice elder law litigation, nursing home negligence cases. Those can be litigation cases. There's also litigation in Medicaid qualification if the Medicaid worker is not approving those applications, then there can be some litigation involved there. Same thing with Social Security disability appeals as well as Medicare appeals. So if you're more on the litigation side of things, there is an area of law for you underneath the elder law litigation umbrella as well. So I'm going to go through this pretty quick, this section, but this is what I mentioned earlier, is if you're looking to onboard elder law into your practice, how are you going to do that? And one of the first things to do is try to identify complementary services. So looking at what's the weakest link in your firm's profitability, and the only way to figure that out is to know which cases create the highest return on investment in each retained client. So where are our marketing dollars going, and how many of those initial consults are coming in and closing? And then looking at the workflow on the time to close each file, and how much of an employee commitment is that? And am I doing that on a flat fee or an hourly billing? So this is really focused on doing an inventory of your cases when they're coming in. Where's your marketing dollars going, and how quickly are you closing those initial consults? Because really what we're thinking about is we're going to take a practice area in an established firm that you're already doing, and we're going to replace it with elder law if that's what your plan is, and we're going to slowly reduce the amount of those unprofitable cases that were coming in, and then we're going to increase the amount of the elder law cases that we're going to bring in. And that really focuses on your business model. Are you a churn and burn? Are you doing $500 wills? You're bringing, your marketing dollars we're the cheapest ones that we do it. We churn and burn that. Or is it a more specialized services, more of a niche service where you can charge more and you don't need as many clients? And what are your business goals and also your personal goals? A lot of people will come to elder law because not a lot of it is litigation based. The planning side anyway, you create your own calendar. You have your clients come in and do your signing ceremonies. There's no one else dictating when you have to be in court for a hearing. You don't have to sit there and wait for roll call. This is clients are coming to you, you're setting your calendar, you're doing transaction type work. So personally, a lot of folks will come in and said, I want to slow down. I don't want to be in court anymore. I want to keep doing, I want to keep working and helping folks, but I want to set my own calendar. And that's a personal goal of theirs to do that. And if litigation is your highest return on your marketing investment, again, we talked about guardianship. If you have really strong administrative law workflows, those veteran compensation claims and those social disability claims, Social Security disability claims would be really good. And the more specialized you get, the less competition you have and the more you can charge. You do need to expand out your geographic scope of where you're practicing, but you can charge more. And so you can use your marketing in a much more targeted way. If you have planning cases, proactive planning is really, really good if you have estate planning workflows. And so that can be a really nice complementary service. Crisis planning, like we talked about, requires much more robust workflows. You want to make sure that you have workflows built in. There's a lot of software out there that can help you. Leap is one that can be really great for you. And it can allow you to stop competing in the estate planning space, which is really nice for estate planning attorneys. If you step out and you just do crisis planning cases, you can say, hey, I'm not your competition anymore. You can refer me those crisis planning cases. Let's make sure these people are getting the help that they need. And special needs planning, you can really specialize in that. And again, that can go out to all of your clients out there where you're really the family's attorney, no matter what kind of problem that they need. And again, that helps you stand out from other estate planning attorneys in your community that aren't helping those special needs cases that come through the door. So how to generate revenue? I think we kind of covered these with proactive planning. With estate planning, you can really go out to your current client base. If you're an estate planning attorney, you already have a built-in client base for proactive Medicaid planning. You can reach out to them and say, hey, it might be time to update your plan. Let's talk about how we're going to pay for long-term care services as part of your overall estate plan. Crisis Medicaid planning, huge for a client base, and also referral sources, because those referral sources, those financial advisors, those tax professionals, they're seeing clients liquidate accounts so they can pay these $13,000 a month. So if you can educate your referral sources on, hey, there's things we can do in a crisis to save them money, they're really going to appreciate that as well. VA planning, I'm sure a lot of you live in communities that have a lot of retired veterans that you can market out to, and special needs, that really hits everybody, like I mentioned earlier. But one place to start, if you already have an estate planning practice, is updating power of attorney documents. Because as clients age, you can give more power to the agent that may not have made sense earlier with previous planning. So that can be kind of that hook that gets them back into the office if they haven't come and seen you for a while. So there's a couple pricing models within elder law, and obviously there's a lot to this, but I'll go through these pretty quick so you can kind of get an idea of how you could make money practicing in elder law. Proactive planning tends to be on most of the elder law planning cases will be fixed pricing. So one way that we teach how to do this pricing model under the ElderCounsel Education area is to do a meet and greet initial consult. Don't charge for that, make it quick, and that's really a fit meeting. Are we a good fit to work together? And then create an analysis letter which reviews the client's finances and provides recommendations of what planning you think they should do. Bring the client back in, review that letter with them to review those recommendations. At that point, you get a second retainer to implement the planning. And then a lot of attorneys do things. This is where kind of attorneys do things a little bit differently, is they're either charged for funding on an hourly basis or on an asset basis. And then really the cream of the crop have a maintenance plan in place. So they're seeing their clients on a yearly basis to make sure that their plans are keeping up with the needs of that client as that client's needs evolve. So in crisis planning, exactly the same thing, except for obviously it's a crisis. So you have to move a lot faster to get them in the door, get that letter done, get them back into the office to implement the planning, and trying to get that done on a much more a quicker basis, because remember, they're burning $13,000 a month at the nursing home each and every month. So we want to get that plan implemented as quickly as possible. Veterans planning, very similar to proactive planning, except for there, you'll see there at the bottom, the VA benefits application, you cannot charge for that. So just if you get into the VA planning area, just know that you'll be submitting those applications at no charge to the client. Some marketing concerns. Which channels will work or confuse potential clients? We have some attorneys that have really, really high net worth clients, and then they also do long-term care planning, and they've bifurcated those. They have one law firm that's set up to do high net worth planning, and then they have another one for long-term care. And thinking through your marketing concerns, do you need a new website or a new ad campaign? And does your overall strategy incorporate new planning areas with focus on those clients' concerns? Your referral sources, again, this is where you're going to need to educate those referral sources. So when they see that the clients are liquidating those funds under their management, that they know to call you as quickly as possible. So how can you get started in elder law? The first thing to do is research your community's resource for the elderly. This was something that I had no idea how big the senior services network of professionals is. And then reach out to those professionals and learn how you can help them. What do they need help with from an attorney? What do their clients need help with from an attorney? And you can really get an idea of who's working in this space in your community, and frankly, figure out if those are people that you want to work with. Another one is obviously join the elder law and special needs section of the New York State Bar. There's also a professional group called the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, and that's referred to as NALA. And there's a New York State chapter of that. One thing that I found that's really helpful there is to attend those meetings and look and see who everybody asks the questions to. There's usually 3 or 4 geniuses in the group, and get to know them, set up a call, set up a lunch, and figure out how is their practice set up? What would they like to know when they started practicing elder law that you can learn from them? And then obviously a shameless plug here, ElderCounsel provides that support as well. We have immersion camps on Medicaid, VA pension, also special needs planning. And then we have document assembly software that grants you full access to a full suite of planning documents. Then we have that marketing support under our law as a business services, which can help you figure out which types of marketing support you may need as you add on a new practice area. So really quickly, in conclusion, your clients need this planning. You can get rid of less profitable services and add elder law. Like I said, it's mostly flat fee. Is a little bit more nichey, so you can charge a little bit more. You can have those internal workflows already in place to implement these plans, and you can make yourself stand out from estate planning attorneys by becoming, and they can become your best referral sources. And this type of work, and this is really the reason to do it, is financially beneficial to your clients, and you're taking the stress off of them, and you're helping them take care of that, because remember, they've gone through a tough time where they've decided to put a loved one maybe in a nursing home, and they didn't realize how much it was going to cost. Mostly, a lot of times in those crisis planning cases, folks are stressed out, they don't know what to do, they call you, you help them resolve that problem, and that's really where you get those clients for life. So I didn't see any questions come through, Tara, so I'll let you kind of wrap us up.
Thanks, Jim. This was a great webinar, so thank you again. And this does conclude our program. But first, I just want to remind everyone that there is another elder law program on July 27th on an elder law case from initial consult to funding. And I will put that link right in the chat there for everyone to check that out. So I encourage you all to join that one as well. And thank you again, Jim, and thank you everyone for joining us. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.